Hey, everybody. Welcome to So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I am Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome to the show. What? Okay, I have to be honest. I truly, and this is fine, the audience can hear this, don't remember the theme. What is our theme?
It's streaming. We're playing some catch up on movies that have come out on the streamings that we may have missed in the theaters.
That's right. That is right. I recall the conversation now. Yeah, we're kicking things off this week with Crime 101, which is streaming on Amazon Prime. Go watch it before you listen if you want to do that, or just listen and we'll spoil things for you. That's kind of the fun of a movie podcast.
Yeah, you can choose. You can watch it and follow along and be part of the discussion, or you're like, oh, maybe I'm interested in this. What do these idiots have to say?
Boom.
and then you can base your opinion on that.
Which many people do base
Thousands.
their opinions on what three idiots say. Sometimes
Yes.
even less than three. Yeah, go watch that on Amazon Prime. Follow us on Instagram at So Many Sequels Pod. Let us know what you thought of it. You can find all that at SoManySequels.com. All right, let's get to the show, though. This week we're talking about Crime 101, which Letterboxd says, when an elusive thief with whose high-stakes heists unfold along the iconic 101 freeway in Los Angeles eyes the score of a lifetime with hopes of this being his final job, his path collides with a disillusioned insurance broker who is facing her own crossroads. Determined to crack the case, a relentless detective closes in on the operation, raising the stakes even higher. All right, now we are just doing movies that are available on streaming, not necessarily streaming premieres. So this did have a box office run.
Yeah.
David, how did it do when it came out? I think back in February, right?
It did. Came out
Of
February
last year?
13th. No, of this year, 2026.
Of this year, okay.
Yeah, just a little earlier this year. It's funny. It's been a little while since we've got to update like a new movie. So
It's been a while.
we've been in the 50s and 60s and 40s a lot lately. So it's nice to have real numbers to look at. Anyway, it debuted February 13th, 2026 to 14.2 million. It was originally scheduled to be a January release and then got pushed back kind of at the last minute. Its U.S. run brought in 36.5 million and then almost an equal amount overseas with 36.3. That's kind of, we've been doing this a long time. I've read a lot of box office stats. It's very rare that it's a 50-50 split. This is as close to 50-50 as I think I've seen. For a worldwide total of $72.8 million. Now, Amazon Prime, they paid about $90 million for this, or I should say Amazon Prime Studios, whatever it's called. So didn't quite make back its budget on that. And is currently sitting at the number 14 movie of 2026. Just real quick though, just to jump back to a few months ago. It debuted, like I said, February 13th. The number one movie that weekend was Wuthering Heights, which brought in 32.8. That's also new to streaming right now, I believe. GOAT, the Steph Curry animated GOAT basketball movie, that brought in 27.2. Also, I believe, new to streaming right now. And then Crime 101 with 14.2. Send Help at number 4 with 8.8. And then Solo
That's also
Mio
on streaming.
So, I mean, like February to May, that's the streaming run right there. And then Solo Mio, which I have to imagine will be streaming soon enough, with 6.3. So, yeah, that's your box office rundown for Crime 101.
Awesome. This was your pick, Garrett. So tell us why you picked Crime 101, the heist movie.
I was really intrigued by it when it came out. Life at the moment is busy and I can't make it to the theaters. But I mean, you had some big names coming together for this, and you had some Marvel names coming together for this, doing things outside of Marvel, which I always want to support and encourage because nobody goes to see their movies that aren't Marvel, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like these are movies that they get to choose and be creative with. This is something different. I get to stretch a little bit of acting chops or something. And Mark Ruffalo is also just really good at playing a gruffled cop. He just played like he's
Mark Ruffalo, you might even say.
Oh, but I mean, look, he did it. He's done it how many times? And Now You See Me in that trilogy. Yeah. He's done it in this. He did it in Collateral. He was a gruff old cop. Like, he's good at this job. So I give him props there. Again, you had Ruffalo, Hemsworth, Halle Berry, Barry Keoghan. I don't know how to say his last name.
I believe Keoghan.
solid cast.
Nick Nolte.
Nick
Yeah.
Nolte shows up there for a
Yes.
minute. And so I was super intrigued. I like it. It made me feel like had potential to be kind of oceansy. It was heisty. It was thefty. And I was very intrigued. It could fall into the cool guys doing cool crimes genre
That's what I was
see
that
this.
David
I
so
see
often
this.
has.
Yes.
So I thought, what a great way to pick a movie that didn't really do that well in theaters and see how we feel about it as we kick off this streaming month.
How you feel about that, David? How do you feel going into this? Same, different?
Well, similar. I mean, I learned this is one of the times that I learned about a movie via a movie poster. Like I was going to see a different film and I saw this poster in the theater and went, "What is this? And when is this coming out?" And yeah, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of heist movies and the made up genre of cool guys doing cool crime. So I was very like, "Oh, hey, we got a potential new addition to the list." So I was really excited. Didn't end up getting to check this out in theaters. For it's hard to get a sitter sometimes. So didn't end up getting a chance to see this, but was very interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, I would say I wasn't really. Here's the thing. I think I was initially interested when I first heard of it coming out, and then I think the more I saw of it, the less interested I got, because while I like this cast and I think, I like a heist movie, who doesn't?
Mm.
And I also want to support these actors who don't always, get recognition outside of their superhero franchise of choice. But it felt like it just felt like it was going to be bland. I get a more and more bland feeling, and really, I kind of feel that way about Amazon movies. Not all of them. They have some good ones for sure.
Yeah.
But there's something about the Amazon aesthetic, I think, in their film and
sometimes
TV
they go
even.
very safe.
That feels like aggressively okay.
That is you have mentioned aggressively okay in the past, Josh, and I find that to be an excellent description of a movie.
It makes perfect sense to me. It's like so just okay you're annoyed about it. That's where it is. It's like, why aren't you better? You have all the pieces to be better. I'm kind of getting into my review a little bit. That's okay. It's that part of the show. Where I was like, it felt too safe all along the way. I just felt like I watched almost 2.5 hours of just the most okay thing you could find. And that almost leans into a negative review for me. I don't know, though. We'll see. We'll see as the conversation unfolds. Because like I said, I don't dislike it, but I could have not watched it and my life would be the same, I guess.
Right.
Which is whatever.
Well, to kind of, I want to detail a little bit of the story a little bit more than the synopsis. So the movie, we open up with Mike.
It is very
aka
complicated.
James. And because like even just getting in, you're like,
lots of threads.
So Mike is a jewel thief. It sets up with this courier who's picking up some diamonds with like his cousin, and immediately Mike is perfect. He has this perfect heist setup. Not the conventional heist movie thing, but he's robbing these guys sort of on the freeway, along the road, whatever, along the U.S. Route 101, hence Crime 101, which took me a while to figure out. But
I just got that. Wow, thanks, David. Appreciate that.
No problem. The whole time I was watching, why is it called Crime 101? It doesn't feel like it fits the movie.
Podcast has done a good thing. Check it off the list.
How about that?
It took me until this morning when I was looking at the notes again, and I was like, okay,
it makes sense now.
I gotcha. Because I was like, doesn't feel like a movie should be called Crime 101. Okay, you got me. Here we go. So anyway, he steals these diamonds from these guys. He mostly gets away. I mean, there's some car chasing or some escaping going on. He tries to sell it, or he tries to move the diamonds onto his fence, Nick Nolte. He expresses some softness or some, like some timidness that he doesn't think that this is going well. And so Nick Nolte hires Barry Keoghan, who's like a violent criminal to do the next crime. And then things just kind of go haywire from there. Mark Ruffalo is a cop who has been pursuing this, but with no real good, solid evidence as to who's been doing these crimes. And then add on to that, Halle Berry is playing this insurance, not partner, but insurance broker, I guess.
Appraiser.
Yeah. And basically, as things unfold, James, Mike, Chris Hemsworth character, he approaches her about getting basically some inside information for another theft, which I guess, we're led to believe he's done this kind of thing before with other people. And she's like, "No, I ain't doing that. I ain't gonna help you commit no crimes." But then, she gets low enough. She's like, "Okay, f these people I'm working with. I will help you commit this crime." So those three storylines of Halle Berry's, Mark Ruffalo's, and Chris Hemsworth all sort of intertangle with also Barry's character in there as well, and sort of how those different things sort of lay over each other. So that's just kind of a more detailed version of the synopsis. But how did you guys get in? Like, I don't know. What did you guys? Let's get into the review part now. But what did you guys think?
So I thought the movie started off really well because, listen, there's a formula that Netflix has kind of come to create that has come to be where it's like you start off with an action scene and then in the middle there's an action scene and then at the close you have an action scene and then kind of in between that you can kind of have whatever because people are checking in and out if they're watching it on TV. It's a whole formula that they've done. I liked the action scene that they started with. I thought it was different. I thought it was unique. It reminded me a little bit of like Transporter, and just to kind of get started, but a lot smarter. I was like, oh, this is interesting. He's not hijacking the thief. He's hijacking the security driver. Like that's he's smart. He's thought about this. So they set up these characters really well. It's a really well done heist. Something goes wrong, and and he kind of has a moment, and it really sucked me in. Of like, okay, I know that this is a formula, but this is at least an opening that I don't feel like is just generic.
Mm-hmm.
No, I thought that the opening was solid. The other thing that Netflix specifically, we talk about streaming shows, and we talked about this with The Rip a while back, but this idea that like you have to repeat the thing over and over again in streaming so that like audiences know what's going on. And I have to say with this one, I feel like they could have repeated it a time or two more because there were times where I was like, what exactly are we trying to do now? Like and I was not second screening. I was watching as attentively as I could, but I was still like, I don't know if I understand why are we doing it? This is what you're doing, but why are you doing it this way? I don't understand. So it could have stood to be spelled out a little more, maybe for me, because by the midway point, I wasn't really entirely sure why at least Chris Hemsworth's character was doing what he was doing. It kind of made sense, Halle Berry and Mark Ruffalo's character, but
I agree with that general consensus that, but I think it's because I think there was just too much going on, too many layers. I didn't need all those storylines. And that may have made it more, or it would have made it easier to follow for sure. I wouldn't want them to expand any deeper because then the more they repeat it, the longer the already long movie gets. And that's where I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
cut down on some plot, maybe.
The movie was 2.5-ish hours long almost, and I feel like I'm so back and forth on this because the first time I watched it twice. Right, because the first time I kind of had that moment of like it was the aggressively okay kind of moment where I was like I really like moments of this, and there are moments of this that I don't really like at all. And a lot of those moments included some of the extra side characters, like everybody. They tried to create depth for all of these characters by giving them all peppered in side stories, right? Like the side stories. Some of them were better than the others, but a lot of them I didn't really need.
Yeah.
And I think that added to the length, and I think it could have been better explained in like I don't know, you talked about not understanding why Chris Hemsworth character got into this. It's about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way in that you learn he kind of he grew up in foster care, and that Nick Nolte's character was the one who like got him out of, basically like a gang situation that you would see where you pull a young kid who doesn't really have a lot into this bad situation, but they didn't expand on that enough.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather them kind of get into some of that as opposed to the love story that Chris Hemsworth had. I think that trade-off is something that I would have rather had.
Well,
and everybody's little, like, it was like I'm trying to give these characters depth without actually making the attempts to show the depth. I'm just going to show these little side things happening to show that things are happening in their life.
I want to agree with that, but also contrast it a little bit, because like he does. So there's also this subplot of Mike's romance with Monica Barbaro and her character Maya, right? And like, I thought that was also really good because it was like revealing little details. It was showing more of his character. However, I think, like you said, they gave a lot of this stuff depth, and it's just so many things. Like, it feels like it's just too many individual character arcs going on, or little like stories going on. There's Mark Ruffalo's character, and how he's like sort of like the pariah of the office because he like doesn't close his rates well. There's
could have lost that one
subplot
easily.
with Halle Berry and her inability to, like, she's getting older in her job, and so like all of these things have good depth that individually I think make nice stories, but when you put them all together, it's just, I don't know, it just kind of collapses under the weight of that. And so it's kind of like, I don't know if I've had that as a complaint about a movie before, but it just feels like there's so sort of too much depth for everybody. Maybe with the exception of Barry Keoghan's character, who's very who's very minimal in his actual character depth.
And I felt like it came at a sacrifice of what I felt really strong about this.
Yeah.
And that was the story. I felt like the core central story, the heist, the threads, there were a lot of threads, right? They went off in different ways. You were seeing all of these different stories. And then there was that mid chase, for me anyway, where Hemsworth hit Keoghan on the motorcycle. That moment, that started to twist those little things into a braid, and they all started to come together. And I really, really liked the way that they tied all of this. And you've got all of these noticeable bad guys. And then all of these people that we've been talking about, Halle Berry's character, Mark Ruffalo's character, Chris Hemsworth's character, they're all kind of anti-heroes in their own way, but they're going up against actual bad people for the most part who are painted poorly. And so all of them get their comeuppance in this own way that felt really satisfying in a way to me. And that I feel like is rare. And so I walked away being like, damn, I really liked that. But there was just a little too much going on. Plus, it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So it needed to strip down some of those extra stories that didn't add as much and focus a little bit more on some of the heist things. And like, I don't know. It was good. And it's based on a novella. So, it's going with some source material. I haven't read it. I don't know. But man, it was really, really strong in some moments. And then it was just in others.
Yeah. No, I think you said the story is what suffered. I do think it's just kind of generally the pace, because there's, and I don't like complaining about pace because I feel like it's some nebulous concept sometimes, but it was like every story had too much to it. And so it felt like a long time getting back to each individual one. Like you would see what's going on in Ruffalo's world, and then it would be like 30 minutes before you'd get back to Ruffalo's world. So just a little bit, I don't know. Maybe I'm exaggerating that a little bit, but that's just kind of how I felt.
Yeah, I couldn't say that any better.
How did you guys feel about some of the action scenes, though? Because I did feel like, again, in addition to the opening heist, that middle action scene for me was the moment where I felt like something cool was really happening, and the pace had changed. It took a really long time to get there.
Yeah.
But if you could stick through all of that, and you can kind of wade through the excessiveness, I really like the action scene in that moment too.
Yeah, Josh, I'll let you tackle that first because I do have some thoughts on that, but I've talked a lot.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna know, and then but so there's a very, I don't know, this could be in the book as well, but there's a very direct reference they make to Steve McQueen, and they make a reference to Bullitt in I believe the Thomas Crown Affair. And so once they said that, it did put in my mind thinking back to the first sequence where he gets shot at during his first heist, and he takes off out of there, and they did, I think, to the best of their ability, shoot these like a Steve McQueen sort of car scene where it felt like it didn't feel like stunt driving necessarily. It felt like really reckless driving. Like he's taking turns way too sharp. He's cutting corners. He's smashing up of the front part of the car on little ramps. Like the car is not in pristine condition when he gets done, like and I think that worked. I think it felt like and even the bike chase with him and Barry, that also felt like really they were making reckless moves. It didn't feel like, Fast and Furious style driving. It felt very, it felt more like tangible than some stunt movie driving. So, and I watched Bullitt a year or two ago. So when they referenced that specifically, I was like, oh yeah, that is what they're going to, because like that's a movie where the stunt driving is intense and how dangerous it feels. Like there was no safety coordinator on that. So I did like some of those. I do think that it could have used more of that. I think that it could have used a little bit more action somewhere in the piece, because it felt like outside of those cut to those car chase type scenes, it felt like it was almost avoiding violence when it could. Outside of that jump scare that Barry had on Halle Berry, that was a good.
Maybe
and that was kind of. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's maybe what part of it, at least what makes it feel so safe. Because I agree. My favorite of the action scenes is the opening one, because that's when I'm in the best mood. I'm ready for what we're getting, and it's like a perfect heist. It was very cool. And then as the movie stretches on, and there's not as much action as I feel. Well, I don't know. There's not a lack of action. There's an addition of too much else, I think is the ultimate issue. And it makes it feel slow for a heist movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I mean, it's not being otherwise carried by like dialogue or by like sort of interesting twists and turns or anything like that. It's kind of like even in terms of dialogue, like Chris Hemsworth character, we could slowly transition into like talking about characters that we want, but Chris Hemsworth character is not like super smooth outside of his jewel thief persona. He's actually quite socially awkward. So that was really kind of an interesting way to go.
Chris Hemsworth really kind of plays against the type you'd expect from him in this, which is cool to see.
Yeah.
I wish it was
do you guys think that the characters are believable? Because it took me a second. I would recommend, if you can, watch it twice, because there is a lot of character development that you get out of a small piece. Like we mentioned Nick Nolte. Sure. He disappears. Like his whole character sets up something, but there's not enough payoff for that. But because Chris Hemsworth's character grew up in foster care, essentially, is what you learn. He's socially awkward, right? That is a part of him. But and they mention this in like the way that Halle Berry's character is set up, that she notices things, right? He's disciplined. He's ordered. That's why he's so good at his jewel thief thing. And so the lack of violence, it doesn't feel safe to me. It feels cerebral. This is not an action-packed, violence, high-intense movie. This is a cerebral movie.
Yeah, it's pretty moody, honestly.
And that is the difference. If you watch it with that perspective of a cerebral, moody jewel thief trying to navigate this world, it really gave it a different perspective. And I really actually liked and understood a little bit more the character setups that they were trying to give, right? the relationship story with Maya, that is the first time that he's able to feel connected by just being himself in this situation that he's not a jewel thief. He's just, it worked. And he had this moment of like doing all of this stuff with doing his side job in the back, right? He's keeping these secrets. There's a lot there. It's just so much the first time. And if you slow it down and expect less action, more cerebral with intense chase scenes, I think it's better.
Yeah, and you asked if the characters feel believable, and I do think that generally they do. It's a very grounded version. It is not the sort of charismatic, over the top sort of like Ocean's 11, The Sting vibes of like these are career criminals and they're smooth and it's much more. And then even from the cop perspective, like the cops are pretty, I'll say, believable. They're very like this. It's very very much a job for
them. They're not hero portrayed.
They're not really portrayed as being heroic. I mean, I think Mark Ruffalo's character is portrayed as being he's a detective in sort of the truest sense of like he's found a thing, he's found a puzzle, he really wants to solve it. But
it's kind of like Zodiac.
Like his biggest thing in the movie, and most heroic thing in the movie, if you want to give it that, is, or at least a maybe moment, is like he's for the most part willing to go against the line that there was an officer involved shooting that was justified. But he's he sort of sticks his gun on just trying to he just wants to find this guy. He just wants to see who this guy is. That's like, it's his white whale. I just want to meet this guy, more or less.
And then I'll retire.
And then Halle Berry, I mean, I don't know much about that field, but I think from a perspective of somebody who wants to go higher in life, but she's being knocked out because of her age and her gender, it seems realistic.
Well, when she had her moment, though, I loved it. When she lit that dude on fire, figuratively speaking, not literally speaking, that's not part of this movie.
Could be. You haven't watched it yet, maybe.
That's Hereditary.
I was going to say Midsummer. It happens in both. Something along those lines happens in both. That's all that matters.
It's true.
Yeah.
I feel like the Sharon character was a little... She was good. Halle Berry's performance was great. That's the other thing, is like, no, none of these characters lack because of performance. I think they lack because of writing. And like, she's one that I feel like was just kind of underwritten. But she did great. And same with Barry Keoghan. He kind of, I mean, he steals the show in a lot of ways, which is unfortunate because I think this is again where we're telling too much plot. I feel like he's almost in a different movie. He could be in a different movie doing his there's two movies in here. And because it distracts to me from Hemsworth's, one last job kind of thing he's got going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's like, he's competing with this like rogue wolf that Barry Keoghan's playing, where he's just like a violent guy, busts in, he has no plan.
And I get it, but I do feel like that character's just not needed. If you could take it out, you could probably tighten up a lot of pieces and you wouldn't miss it. This kind of feels like a director's cut version of that.
Yeah. The ultimate thing of this movie, I think, or the ultimate knock on this movie for me, is not necessarily like, I think you could get by with a lot of the things we've said. I think could be a positive, but I do feel like there's generally a lack of urgency from the movie. And Barry's characters at that time, when he's on screen, is one of the only things that provides a little bit of urgency because he is so erratic and chaotic. And like I said, if you take him out, you probably do shear up a lot of the movie, and you probably could do this without him. But like, that's the only thing I really would have liked about this movie a little bit more, is it felt like nobody was in a hurry to do anything outside of the chase scenes. Now,
what else we want to cover? What else? Anything? Any other sticking points? Any other must discuss moments from Crime 101 from you guys?
I think the last thing I must address is it a cool guy doing a cool crime movie?
That's a good question.
Still trying to piece together what exactly it means. Still very nebulous as a genre. I think the things it has going for it has thieving, which is one of the ultimates in terms of cool crimes. It's also non-violence. I think that's really big for cool crime. Violence is not cool. So if you can manage,
Can't disagree.
if you can manage,
Violence is not cool.
I go back to
White collar
Ocean's.
crimes will get you to the White House, kids.
So I go back to every time I think about this idea. In Ocean's 13, there is a moment where the bad guy from Ocean's 12, he shows up and he robs Matt Damon's character.
Yeah.
And he holds him up with a gun, and he's holding the gun at him, and then he gives over the stuff, and Matt Damon says, "A gun? Really?" Like that. Like the gun is beneath them in terms of how they would commit their crimes, and the guy, he throws it away. He shows that it's not even loaded.
I love that because a cool guy isn't messy, and violence and guns are messy. They leave a mess.
Messy. Yeah. So it has that going for it. It has, but ultimately, I don't know. I just feel like Chris's character, he wasn't cool outside of his actual crimes. His crimes are cool, but he wasn't cool.
I think that's where I would fall. As soon as you asked, I felt like they weren't cool enough. The guys.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe they
Kinda
were
just
cool
normal.
once.
Normal guys doing cool crimes.
Cool crimes. Exactly. That's how it felt.
And normal
That's how
guys
it
doing
felt.
cool crimes is aggressively okay.
Yeah, let's get into our final thoughts. What are we thinking here?
Oh, well, it was your pick, Garrett. Do you want to do the honors of your first review? The first
Yeah,
wrap-up
you
anyway?
know what? I'm going to do a classic Garrett does something different, right? I'm going to go with a 3.2 because I
Fascinating.
feel like it's better than just an average 3. It's not really good, right? That's my average
Right.
for 3.5. It's good. There's something there. There's discussion points. I mean, we had a half an hour discussion about this movie because of stuff, right? There's a lot there. I like that it feels like a pre-COVID movie. Josh, do you remember that movie Widows?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
I feel like I didn't like that movie because it wasn't what I thought it was.
I remember you didn't like it as much at the time as your expectations were, at least.
Yes,
You wanted it
and
to
I
be
feel
better.
like yes, and I feel like this can fall easily into that category for whomever goes into watching it. I
Yeah.
also feel like it's one of the better heisty theft movies we've gotten since Baby Driver.
Now, that's
which is-
probably true. Yeah.
Which is unfortunate that we can't talk about that movie because of He Who Must Not Be Named. but this genre is underexplored, and I think it did good. I think it did good, but it could have done better. So 3.25.
Um,
Yeah, add a
That's the half. That's the half.
add
That's the half.
3.256. 3.256. I'm gonna go. So this is kind of where I was gonna land, and Garrett going with 3.2 makes me feel confident. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. It has, like I said, I think that there are a lot of individual aspects I think are good, but I don't think that the sum is greater than the means. However that phrase works.
The sum is greater
I
than
just
the
don't-
parts, I think.
Yes, the sum is not better than the parts, but there are parts that I think are very good. It's better than I would say the average Amazon Prime movie because I think it is thoughtful in some parts. But I don't see myself rewatching this very many times, if ever. So I can't quite bump it up to 4. So I'm going 3.5.
I am tempted to watch it a second time only because Garrett did and recommended it as a good experience. So I may consider watching it again. I'm gonna give it the 3. I'm gonna be the brave one and give it the 3. The
You
aggressive.
cover the spectrum well there.
Yeah.
Honestly, I expected you to give it lower.
No, because and I know because I came out on it hard, but at the end of the day, okay is
That's a
or
3.
actually
It's like 3.
aggressively okay probably
2.5.
equals good.
Yeah.
I think 2.5 is okay in my books, and 3 is
Fair.
good. So I'm
Fair.
gonna give
Yeah.
it 3. It was fine. It was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
At times. Other times
Yeah.
it wasn't. And the
Mhm.
the outcome was not greater than the parts that it made up. So
Yeah.
3 stars for me.
All right. But what does
Well,
Letterboxd think?
What does Letterboxd think?
Let's find out.
Pull up some of the popular reviews here. We can read and laugh, hopefully. 3 stars, exactly as smooth a robbery as I would have expected from Barry Keoghan. 3.5 stars, Avengers Assemble. That's funny.
Yeah, for sure.
3 stars. Once again, Barry Keoghan is rejected for a kiss by a tall, handsome Australian. 4 stars. I can't believe they made 101 of these films.
Classic.
And then finally, 4 stars. The Barry Keoghan Weird Little Guy cinematic universe continues to grow.
I love the Barry Keoghan focus
Like
here.
I said, he stole the show, I think, which is unfortunate for Hemsworth, who I think the movie's supposed to be about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
David, what's the order, friend?
Josh, you're in last, but it is very close. It's 4 to 5 to 6. Josh at 4, me at 5, Garrett at 6. So it's all within reach still.
I'm gonna guess Garrett's rating of a 3.2.
3.25.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's a good zone to be in. I'm gonna bump over a little, and I'll say it's gotten to a 3.3.
Ooh. Guys, I'm going to go lower. I don't think it's going to be a 3. I think a lot of people are going to err on the side of it. This is not what I thought. I think it's going to be a 2.9.
2.9.
I think it's going to be a 2. What? 2.9?
9. 2.9.
2.9 from Garrett, 3.2 from me, and 3.3 from David. No direct hit. Very nearly a tiebreaker.
Oh, there it goes.
It's a 3.1.
3.1,
which I believe goes to me.
That point goes to Josh for being the closest.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah,
dang,
3.1.
that's close.
Hey,
3.1.
this is a very dead heat for this year, where now it's 5 to 6. So we're keeping it close this year. This might come down to the last game, like last year's did.
Love it. It's more exciting that way. No one likes it when someone runs away with the whole season.
No.
All right, well that's Crime 101. If you didn't watch it now and you want to, Amazon Prime is where you'll find it. Go check that out. You can follow us on Instagram at So Many Sequels Pod. You can find us on Letterboxd. You can find all 3 of us there and the show. Go check all that out. Go to SoManySequels.com for all of that.
Let us know what you're watching on streaming.
Yeah,
what
let
movies
us
have
know
we
what you're
missed?
watching.
What are new? What are old? What are you catching up on?
Yes. It's gonna get to where the days are gonna get hot. There's gonna be some days you're gonna want to stay inside. You're gonna want to stream something.
Heck
Let
yeah.
us know. Let us know what that is. Yeah, we've got more streaming movies coming up throughout the next few weeks. So stay tuned. SoManySequels.com. Subscribe. Spotify and YouTube. You can watch videos, and you can find the show wherever you get podcasts. We'll see you guys next time.